Good morning. I'm Carol. As you know, I've told you stories before on YouTube, and today I want to tell you or read you a story from a book of Aboriginal stories by A.W. Reid. Now, Aborigines are the native people of Australia, and this story is called Yhi Brings Life to the World. It's a creation myth. In the beginning, the world lay quiet in utter darkness. There was no vegetation, no living or moving thing on the bare bones of the mountains. No wind blew across the peaks. There was no sound to break the silence. The world was not dead. It was asleep, waiting for the soft touch of life and light. Undead things lay asleep in icy caverns in the mountains. Somewhere in the immensity of space, Yhi stirred in her sleep, waiting for the whisper of Bahame, the great spirit, to come to her. Then the whisper came, the whisper that woke the world. Sleep fell away from the goddess like a garment falling to her feet. Her eyes opened and the darkness was dispelled by their shining. There were crustaceans of light in her body. The endless night fled. The Nullarbor plain was bathed in a radiance that revealed its sterile wastes. He floated down to earth and began a pilgrimage that took her far away to the west, to the east, to the north and to the south, where trees and shrubs and flowers sprang from it wherever she stepped, lifting themselves towards the radiant source of light. These tracks crossed and recrossed until the whole earth was clothed with vegetation. Her first joyous task completed, Yhi, the sun goddess, rested on the Nullarbor plain, looked around her and knew that the Great Spirit was pleased with her work. The work of creation is well begun, Bahame told her. But it has only just begun. The world is full of beauty, but it needs dancing life to fulfill its destiny. Take your light into the caverns of earth and see what will happen. So Yhi rose and made her way into the gloomy spaces beneath the surface of the earth. There were no seeds there to spring to life at her touch. Harsh shadows lurked behind the light. Evil spirits shouted, "No! No! No!" until the caverns vibrated with voices that boomed and echoed in the darkness. The shadows softened. Twinkling points of light sparkled in an opal mist. Dim forms stirred restlessly. "Sleep! Sleep! Sleep!" the evil spirits wailed, that the shapes had been waiting for the caressing warmth of the sun goddess. Filmy wings opened. Bodies raised themselves on long legs. Metallic colours began to grow. Soon he was surrounded by myriads of insects, creeping, flying, swarming from every dark corner. She retreated slowly. They followed her out into the world, into the sunshine, into the embrace of the waiting grass and leaves and flowers. The evil chanting died away and was lost in a confusion of vain echoes. There was work for the insects to do in the world, and time for play, and time to adore the goddess. "Caverns in the mountains, the eternal ice," whispered Bahame. Yhi sped up the hill slopes, gilding their tops, shining on the snow. She disappeared into the caverns, chilled by the black ice that hung from the roofs and walls, ice that lay hard and unyielding, frozen lakes in ice-bound darkness. Light is a hard thing and a gentle thing. It can be fierce and relentless. It can be penetrating. It can be warm and soothing. Icicles dripped clear water. Death came to life in the water. There came a moving film over the ice. It grew deeper. Blocks of ice floated to the surface, diminished, lost their identity in the rejoicing of unimprisoned water. Vague shapes wavered and swam to the top. shapes which resolved themselves into fishes, snakes, reptiles. The lake overflowed, leaped through the doorways of the caves, rushed down the mountainsides, giving water to the thirsty plants, and sought the distant sea. From the river, the reptiles scrambled ashore to find a new home in grass and rocks, while fish played in the leaping waters and were glad. "There are yet more caves in the mountains," whispered Bahame. There was a feeling of expectancy. He entered the caves again, but found no stubborn blocks of ice to test her strength. She went into cave after cave and was met by a torrent of life, of feather and fur and naked skin. Birds and animals gathered around her, singing in their own voices, racing down the slopes, choosing homes for themselves, drinking in a new world of light, colour, sound and movement. "It is good! My world is alive!" Bahame said. He took his hand and called in a golden voice to all the things she'd brought to life. "This is the land of Bahame. It's yours forever to enjoy. Bahame is the Great Spirit. He will guard you and listen to your requests. I have nearly finished my work, so you must listen to my words. I shall send you the seasons of summer and winter, summer with warmth which ripens fruit ready for eating, winter for sleeping while the cold winds sweep through the world and blow away the refuse of summer. These are changes that I shall send to you. There are other changes that will happen to you, the creatures of my love. Soon I will leave you, and I will live far above in the sky. When you die, your bodies will remain here, but your spirits will come to live with me." She rose from the earth and dwindled to a ball of light in the sky and sank slowly behind the western hills. All living things sorrowed, and their hearts were filled with fear, for with the departure of Yhi, darkness rushed back into the world. Long hours passed, and sorrows were soothed by sleep. Suddenly there was a twittering of birds, for the wakeful ones had seen a glimmer of light in the east. It grew stronger, and more birds joined in until there came a full-throated chorus as Yhi appeared in splendour and flooded the plains with her morning light. One by one the birds and animals woke up, as they have done every morning since that first dawn. After the first shock of darkness, they knew that day would succeed night, and there would always be a new sunrise and sunset, giving hours of daylight for work and for play, and night for sleeping. The river spirit and the lake spirit grieve most of all when Yhi sinks to rest. They long for her warmth and her light. They mount up into the sky, striving with all their might to reach the sun goddess. Yhi smiles on them, and they dissolve into drops of water, which fall back onto the earth as rain and dew, freshening the grass and the flowers, and bringing new life. One last deed remained to be done, because the dark hours of night were frightening for some of the creatures. Yhi sent the morning star to herald her coming every day. Then, feeling sorry for the star in her loneliness, she gave her Balu, the moon, for her husband. A sigh of satisfaction arose from the earth when the white moon sailed majestically across the sky, giving birth to myriads of stars, making a new glory in the heavens. And that is the story of how the Aborigines think that the world came into being. Now, there are lots and lots of creation myths across the world, but what strikes me is that they are all very, very similar. And if you compare them to the book of Genesis, Genesis chapter 1, in the Bible, you will see there the story of how the world came into being. It'd be fun if you could just check them out. Check out the creation myths across the world and see how similar they are. That's my challenge to you. Okay, goodbye. I'll talk to you again soon.